Welcome back to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. Agricultural expansion or diversification, including owning farmland, raising different crops and livestock, or creating new adventures, can create a lot of openings for new revenue streams, but it can also create new risk. Joining us again on the podcast this week, Erin Cummings. She's with Nationwide, their agribusiness senior consultant. Erin, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good to chat.
Every ag business has its strengths and weaknesses. How does acknowledging those help when exploring the subject of diversification?
Well, that's really where it should all fit. So if you think about what you're doing well, you of course want to do more of that. If you think about what you're maybe not doing so well, you probably want to do less of that or change the way you're doing things. So when you're thinking about diversifying or trying something new, it really comes down to that business decision of is it really the right fit?
Yeah, let's talk about that. You have this list at aginsightcenter.com from Nationwide, this great article giving our listeners and your customers a chance to really take a deep dive into what they're doing right now. And as you mentioned, maybe continuing what they're doing right into the future and diversifying their portfolio a little bit. What does that right fit entail?
So when we think about right fit, a lot of it has to do with what's going on in your operation already. So say you're having a child, maybe join the operation or adding a new partner to the operation, you may need to come up with a revenue stream to ensure that you're able to sustain another family within the farm. And that could be your decision to add something that maybe you already do today or expand something that you already do today versus something where it might not just be the right fit. If we think about what we're good at today, you'll want to really think about how you can add existing operations or new operations that fit hand in glove with your current operation.
You're in the risk business, so what do you have to think about as far as risk tolerance or aversion?
We're always in the risk business at Nationwide and with insurance in mind. And we know that, as a nationwide company, we think about risk a lot, but we know that our average farmers really don't think about risk from an insurance standpoint all that often. So it's good to take a pause and think about, well, if we would undertake this new operation or expand an operation, what risks are really there? And we're not talking just about market risk. We're very good in farming about thinking about market risk. We might need to think about what about reputation risk? What about liability that I may be exposed to? But also, what about property damage? By taking on this new opportunity, am I exposing myself and my farm to additional risks that probably could be picked up by an insurance policy?
You mentioned the marketing aspect. You have to make sure there's someone out there that wants this product that you're bringing to the farm.
Of course, just like any organization would do some market analysis and or research, very important so that maybe you are the best cinnamon apple pie maker in the county, but every third neighbor is also the best cinnamon apple pie maker in the county. Maybe not that's not the best product to take to that market. Or if you really enjoy some kind of spicy pickle, but no one in your market enjoys that spicy pickle, again, maybe not the best product to take to the market. So it definitely requires some market research. But in addition to market research, there's some things that we don't often think about. What are state and county and even local rules or ordinances or guidelines about starting a business or starting another operation? Are there any small things that you need to consider before you just jump right in with both feet?
You had me at apple pie, you lost me at spicy pickles.
Same, right?
So when you think about this, though, you may have customers out there that want this, but you have to make sure that you're going to be profitable at the end, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of times we'll start something maybe as a hobby, and then maybe that turns into a business, but you don't want to go the other way. You don't want to start a business and then have it unfortunately turn into a hobby because there's not that much revenue there. So really understanding from a business perspective what you're offering, what's your pricing look like, what's the matrix, how are you going to offer that service, and then also what can your market hold?
Along those same lines, the cost of ramping up and expanding your farm, right?
Yeah. And in that article, I shared kind of my own perspective. My husband and I farm in central Iowa. So if we think about adding another revenue stream or diversifying our operation, we are first going to think about what existing machinery, land, buildings, what do we already have that we could utilize for diversification? Because we know if we utilize those existing assets, we are set up a little bit financially and have a little more cushion than if we were going to add a new revenue stream, but then also have to make significant investment for that revenue stream. So each operation is going to be different, but that's just from my own personal experience of how we think about diversification. And we want to use and put as much good use into those assets we already own versus trying to have to make a big financial investment to launch a new operation.
Finally, where does farm insurance come into play here?
Well, farm insurance is an important part of kind of the risk profile. So, based on your level of risk tolerance and how much risk you want to withhold yourself versus having an insurance company help you with, you can build a policy by working with your agent to provide coverage for those scenarios. We know that insurance is not top of mind to farmers and ranchers, but anytime that you're changing your operation, even if that's adding a building, no different than if you're adding a new revenue stream, you really need to talk to your agent to ensure that your coverage matches your needs and your risk tolerance.
Erin Cummings with Nationwide. She's their agribusiness senior consultant. You can read more about diversification and a lot of other great topics online at aginsightcenter.com. Erin, always great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ty.
Who feeds your need for new ideas for your family's best farm future? Ohio Farm Bureau. We work with our members to shape ag policy that will positively impact our industry. Farm Bureau is advancing business solutions to give you a competitive advantage. We help you gather information to stay ahead of important topics and technologies. Plus, Ohio Farm Bureau creates opportunities for growth. Ohio Farm Bureau, feeding your need for new ideas.
Find out how Nationwide Agribusiness can help you grow your business. Get to know the people with the experience and knowledge to help you. Whether you are looking to protect your farm or ranch from the ground up, or need someone who understands your changing commercial ag needs. Find out how to better manage the risks of your ag business, or how quickly you can get back to business. Learn how you can protect your next with Nationwide on your side.
Under the Corporate Transparency Act, some new paperwork requirements are going to be handed to farmers. On this Legal with Leah to talk about what these changes are and what they mean to Ohio Farm Bureau members, we bring in Leah Curtis, OFBF's Policy Counsel. Leah, great to see you as always.
Always good to see you, Ty.
What is this Corporate Transparency Act and why do farmers need to know about it?
So, this is an anti-money laundering law that was passed by Congress in 2020. And I do want to note that at the time of its passage and as it worked its way through Congress, Farm Bureau did oppose this. We lobbied against it. However, it was supported with very strong bipartisan support. So, it did pass. And what the law does is it requires most businesses to report information about their beneficial owners. And the intent is to try to make it harder to illegally hide assets and commit financial crimes, particularly through the use of shell companies. So, most businesses, a lot of businesses are going to be subject to this. There are some businesses like highly regulated industries such as utilities or larger companies, they're already reporting all this information under existing law. So they are exempt from this provision of the law.
So who needs to file under this law now?
Basically, any business that was created by filing a document with the Secretary of State or a similar office is going to have to report. So, for example, if a farmer has an LLC or a partnership or corporation, they probably filed that business with the Secretary of State's office in Ohio. And so your business is going to be subject. If the business was created prior to January 1, 2024, so just this past January, then you'll have until January 1, 2025 to file. Any new businesses that are created in 2024 are going to have about a 90-day window to do that registration.
And what is it these businesses will have to report?
So the law requires that they report who are the beneficial owners. And beneficial owners are those people that have substantial control over a company or they own 25% or more of the ownership interests of the company. So typically, someone's going to be a beneficial owner if they're an important decision maker of the company. And then you'll have some basic information you'll need to report: name, address, where the company was formed, meaning which state, the tax ID number, and then every beneficial owner you'll report their name, date of birth, address, and some sort of identifying number from an accepted identification document, so like a passport or driver's license, and then a copy of that identification as well.
I know a lot of our members this time of year are saying more paperwork. When will these filings have to be made?
So again, you can begin filing this year, but you're not going to be required to file until January 1 of 2025. And those filings are done on the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network website. And there are penalties if a business doesn't file. So this is something we want people to start thinking about, even though your deadline isn't until January 1, 2025. You are going to have to kind of work through this analysis. Who is it that you need to report, what you need to report? So we want people to start thinking about it.
You mentioned that filing deadline is, boy, just under a year away. Could things change between now and then?
So there's always a possibility. I'm going to be a lawyer and say it depends. There's a lot of significant concerns that have been raised about this law kind of from across the country. And as always, there is litigation. So there is a lawsuit that is filed over this law. It is working its way through the court. And so there's always a chance that something could change in the meantime, either Congress changing the law or the lawsuit putting some sort of change or difference into how it's going to go into effect. So that being said, there is still a deadline. And so we do want this on people's radar, and there's a possibility nothing will change. So we want you to be aware of it and be able to prepare. And if there are changes, we'll certainly let everyone know and make sure that they're updated on that.
There's another resource online at ohiofarmbureau.org. Just click on this podcast. You'll find a link to an Ohio State University law bulletin all about the Corporate Transparency Act. Leah Curtis, our guest for this Legal with Leah. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.